gosh, I'm going to have to expand the map. Our Elevenses family has grown. Welcome to Elevenses with Lisa. I'm Lisa Louise Cooke, and Elevenses is the morning tea break time where we get together and we take a break and we meet up with our friends and we chat about genealogy. And this is episode 35. And here in the U.S. anyway, it's Thanksgiving 2020. Yes, and even though it's 2020, there's a lot to be thankful for. Just watching the chat and participating in the chat while I'm waiting for things to get started. Thankful for all of you. You're just wonderful. I know you're thankful for each other. We have just the nicest group, I think, in our live show. And I was thinking about it. This is episode 35. We've covered a lot in 34 hours together. And like I said, a lot of people have joined us over time. We have people from all over the world. Hillary's in Wales, and I know we've got Dot in Australia, and Ann up in Canada, and there's people all over everywhere, and of course across the U.S. So I'm going to have to update my map if I can figure out where everybody's from. I looked through the chat log to see where you guys say that you are from. And it's interesting because when I'm doing the live show, I don't get to hear your voices necessarily, but I do get to hear from you because during the live show, of course, we're talking in chat. So I get to hear from you there. And some of you take me up on my offer to call the voicemail line. Yes, I have a voicemail line. Did you know that? This thing has been in place for well over a decade because of the Genealogy Gems podcast. So I'll just say the number, but I'll have to put it in the show notes. 925-272-4021. I know it's a California number. I'm not there anymore, but the phone is still there. So you can call in. And in fact, one of you did. And you're going to be hearing from one of you today. I love it. I love bringing your voices into the mix. I even get letters by mail, literally in the mailbox. And I love it. So I just wanted to share with you, let's go kind of down memory lane today for Thanksgiving and really give thanks for each other, for our discoveries, for what we learn. You guys have been busy. You contact me all the time and let me know what you've been doing with what you hear on the show. And so I thought we'd go back over a couple of different items. I think you'll find maybe some new tips that maybe you missed along the way, or just some wonderful inspiration from your fellow Elevenses tea timers. So back it was episode 27. It was the Google Lens episode. And in that episode, of course, I was showing you how to use Google Lens. And the picture I showed was this. Let's see if we can look at this. Okay. Remember this? This was it turned out to be a shelf. Now, when I first got it, and I didn't take it off the wall, it'd be easier to kind of show you why we were so confused when we got it. It came in two pieces. And you had to first figure out how to put them together. And then you had to figure out, well, where does this go? What does this do? You'll notice if you look at the picture, there's a spot at the very top for a screw. We had the original screw. And and then there's two more at the bottom. I think those are screwed into the wall as well. Okay, so it turned out to be a shelf. And I was showing in episode 27 how this shelf that Google Lens explained to me what this was, that this would have been a shelf you bought as an accessory for your old iron stove, your cook stove in the kitchen. And it's funny, I was going through the Sears catalog at Ancestry.com, and there were so many accessories. I think space was an issue. Where to set your teapot, that was one of them. They had a special little adapting shelf that attached to the stove to put your teapot. And then you could put other items as well. So Jennifer, who lives out in California, she says she had a little different idea about what this shelf might have been. She says, what really had me smiling was the plant shelf, which turned out to be an accessory for a stove. I cannot be the first to think upon seeing it that there was a different punchline. I was waiting for you to say that it was some kind of traveling toilet seat to carry to a strange outhouse. What a letdown. I could see why you'd be let down. I know. Where your minds go, I tell you. Okay, so Karen, who lives in Oregon, she also had another theory about the shelf. She says, I just watched, and let me turn this on. So she says, I just watched your Google Lens program and I wanted to share with you that I might have a different take on the little shelf that you showed. As soon as my hubby and I saw it, we thought that it was a speakeasy, that it's a type of ornament that was on many a front door back in the day. So that would have been like in the 20s and the 30s. I think of it as Prohibition time. The part that you have would have been the inside half. So I could kind of see where she got that with the shelf. It would have been attached to the front door over a hole and would have come. So when someone came to the door and you could open the outside part and you would be able to drop it down, the part on your side, and be able to talk to one another. So you could see if it was a friend, someone delivering a package. They didn't have Amazon at that time, but back in the day, they actually came to your door and talked to you. A Fuller Brush man, remember that? These were very common. We actually owned a small inn in Manzanita that was built about 1945 and had similar Art Deco type speakeasies on each outside door. So I liked her theory. I thought that was very interesting. So I did a quick Google search. And of course, Google Lens was what I used to initially identify it. But you could also just type in there the theory, which was speakeasy door. And I put metal because it's a metal piece. And some pictures did come up. Now, Karen, if you're watching, the interesting thing about these is all of these speakeasies that I found, and there was lots of different examples, they all open like a door as well. And if you'll remember, the shelf, I had to look at it and think about it, but it comes down. And that shelf is so heavy, I can't imagine. In fact, when we first were messing with it, and you look at the style of the ornamentation, you kind of think that's the top. But we did try and turn it. And the thing was, it was so heavy, it was just kind of like swing, and it was terrible. So I don't think that's what it is, but I just think it's so interesting how everybody had different ideas and how many objects are out there that we kind of lose track of what they were for, from definitely days gone by. In fact, our friend of the show, Kathy Nielsen, she sent me a picture of an item. We were talking about it'd be kind of fun to have an episode devoted to items that you have around your house, maybe you inherited from your family, and you don't know for sure what they are. If you have some of those, email me. You can do that through the website. There's a contact button right on the front of the page. There's also direct genealogy gems podcast at gmail.com. But I think it'd be fun to have an episode where we try to guess and see what these items actually are. Okay. So here's the next thing. Still in the Google Lens episode, I got lots of information, lots of emails and contact from you guys about the Google Lens episode. And I need a full-time producer. I'm like trying to click and get all these things up on the screen. I think I've got the right thing here. So Mary French was one of the people who immediately put Google Lens to work, and she wrote me about what she was doing. She says, I'm a new premium member. So thank you very much, Mary. She's a member of my website, Genealogy Gems. And she says she's in the early process of organizing photos and researching her family. So she came across this photograph. She says, my parents were born and raised in North Dakota. I came across a photo of my mom at age 6 in front of a sculpture fountain and used Google Lens to discover that it was taken in front of the Fountain of the Atom in 1939 at the World's Fair in New York. What a gem! Thank you for all your great information. I love this. I mean, that was the amazing thing in that episode we talked about. And I do a whole presentation for societies on webinars and things on identifying photos. And Google Lens is one of the tools that we use because it has this ability to spot things, particularly more well-known locations. And wow, to have a photograph, it's your mom, but where, when, how, and then have Google Lens be able to tell you. So I wanted to show you kind of how we did that. Make sure I got the right thing here. Yes. So if you're on your phone and you tap the Google app and you tap Google Lens, a little icon with the button in the middle, you hold it up to the picture, and remember, it kind of sprinkled. You press the button, and it brings up if there's a photograph that matches. And of course, each one of these photos is associated with a website. So Mary said that it turned out what she learned from the websites was that Wayland Gregory was commissioned for the 1939-1940 New York World's Fair to produce the Fountain of the Atom. It was comprised of 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water, surrounded by 8 electrons, 4 female and 4 male. He described the electrons as, quote, elemental little savages of boundless electrical energy. I love it. So, of course, because I'm crazy for YouTube, I had to go and check and see if there was a, first of all, was there a definite significance? Were there videos out there of this fountain? What did the fair look like? What else was at the fair? I mean, that's a pretty interesting kind of item that she had in the photo. So I found a video. I did a search.
The theme center, while the 4 freedoms, speech, press, assembly, and religion overlook Constitution Mall. 30 feet high, they symbolize the 4 rights of free Americans guaranteed by the Constitution.
Amazing. So how fun to, once you could get it identified, well, gosh, now you take that information and you jump over to YouTube and you start searching to see, I have a photo. Is there a video? Is there a newsreel? And there's so many out there. I will have links to all of this in the show notes so that Mary can watch that. There were several wonderful videos. I didn't spot the actual fountain, but I did see many sculptures and items, and it was all about what will the future look like. So that was really fun. World's Fair. Gotta love Google Lens. Okay, but we're not done with Google Lens yet. You guys have been so busy with this. Okay, so Kristen Strube, and Kristen, I should have asked you how to pronounce your last name. She lives in California, and she sent me this photograph. She's watching Elevenses with Lisa on her smart TV. I love this. So I think that most smart TVs these days have a YouTube app on them. And it took me a while to discover that my TV had that. And I had to change inputs to find it. But so yours, if you have a smart TV, it might have a YouTube app on it. You could go there and just search for Elevenses with Lisa. We'll pop right up. Or if you did your homework and you subscribed to the channel by clicking the red subscribe button, everybody, you would be subscribed and you could go and sign into your Google account on YouTube and you would see your subscriptions. We would be one of them, and it'd be really easy to watch us on your big screen like Kristen does. So fun. I actually do a lot of air streaming with my phone. I like to, when I'm watching videos, I'll just pop it up on the screen because I have an iPhone and it does that. But Kristen sent me the picture, said that, so this is her view when she's watching Elevenses, and I know she's watching this morning. Look at this gorgeous fireplace that she has. Oh, I want one of those, the stone fireplace. I have the perfect spot for it in our music room, but I haven't. Bill says no. Anyway, above her fireplace is this beautiful charcoal artwork. Okay, so she says the artwork is a beautiful charcoal owned by my mother-in-law, Jane Strube, who was with the Ladies Art Auxiliary of Stanford University. She was very art knowledgeable and intimidating as heck. She left it to me, and I just love it. So Kristen, as she's watching the show and she's looking over at the artwork, she starts to wonder if that beautiful cathedral was a real location. So while she's watching episode 27, she takes her phone out, she taps on the Google app, hits the Google Lens button in the search box, and guess what? She points it at the picture, and she says, Google Lens knew exactly what it was. She says, after having Google Lens tell me that this is the Mexico City Metropolitan Cathedral, I continued snapping photos with Google Lens. So I could just see her running around the house, taking pictures of everything. Next was my grandmother's cookie jar, which I knew was a Stratfordshire. Here it is. But I didn't know that it was so sought after, but there's not a chance I'm parting with it. I don't blame you. It's adorable. I think I've seen that one before. She's right. Oh my gosh, it goes for a pretty penny, and they're very popular. And they're out there on the auction sites. And so Google found them, matched it up, popped it up on her phone. So if you want to learn more about all of this Google lensing that we've all been doing, and you wonder, what did I miss? Okay, it's episode 27. Let me look here and see. Here it is. Episode 27. And of course, when I do episodes like this, if you're new to the show, hey, we've got show notes for you. So it can go kind of fast during the episode, but you can turn to the website for the complete show notes, which is all step by step. I know many of you have wondered, wait a minute, how do I find the show notes? So I think I told you last week that I added Elevenses to the menu on our website at genealogygems.com. You can also get there by lisalouisecooke.com. They both go the same places. But I thought I would show you. Let's see how you do it on your phone, okay? So if you want to get to the show notes, head to my website, genealogygems.com, Lisa Louise Cooke. On a phone, you tap those 3 lines and you get the blue menu from the left-hand side. And then you can tap Elevenses. And in the drop-down, it's Elevenses show notes. So you tap that, and that takes you to our landing page. So at the top, it kind of explains what the show is for people who are new to it. It tells you how to subscribe to the show over here on YouTube, which I very, very much hope you will do and appreciate that you do that. And then as you scroll down, you see all the most recent episodes. So they're all in date order, number order. Tap number 27. There you are. You're at the Google Lens show notes. So you can run around your house with your phone and find out what everything is. And if there's anything else out there, or what your stuff is worth. That could be kind of fun. And of course, on the show notes page, you can watch the video, play to watch the video. There's all the notes written out step by step that follows along with the video. And if you're a premium member, like Mary mentioned that she was, down at the bottom in the resources section, we've got a downloadable PDF version of the show notes. No ads, no nothing. Ads help us kind of pay for the free show. But the premium members get the ad-free PDF so that you can not only download it and refer to it, but you can really quickly, easily search it. PDFs are great to be able to keyword search. So it just makes it easy to find what you're looking for. Okay. This is so much fun. I love going back over this and just seeing what you guys have been doing. And you have to keep emailing me because we have to keep doing this. Okay. So, episode 15 was 10 surprising things that you can do with Google Books. Margaret Ma got busy with this. You might remember Margaret. She showed us her beautiful teacup collection, and we learned that back in the day, a lady would receive an individual beautiful teacup from each of her girlfriends at her bridal shower. And so that's why you might end up with an eclectic mix of teacups. So she has been finding some surprising things as well. So this is what she wrote me. I've really been enjoying Elevenses. The recent Google Books episode just came in very handy. My grandmother, long deceased, took a European grand tour in the summer of 1926 when she was a young, fun, single woman of 25. I had a couple of dozen photos of the trip in her old photo album. How nice that you have it. Pretty well documented, but she'd never told me about the trip at all. So just recently, in the bottom of an old memorabilia box, I found a manila folder with 20 single-spaced typewritten pages by Grandma where she wrote stories about the entire trip. OMG, genealogy gold, she says. The stories are so entertaining. That I'm currently working on typesetting the text and photos in a hardcover book to give to family this Christmas. Oh, how awesome. She says, I've been trying to add supporting details to Grandma's trip and stories, and I turned to Google Books. Why not? She says she saved a souvenir passenger list of her tour. Grandma did. So I knew the tour company's name was Gates Tours. I put it into Google Books, and I got a hit. In fact, she got several hits, she says. of print ads from a couple of magazines. And that was one of the things we were talking about in that episode, was that Google Books is a whole lot more than just books. It's got old magazines and almanacs and catalogs and all kinds of stuff. And she's finding stuff that just is going to be beautiful for her book. But of course, she says, Google's all about the ads. They got to sell you stuff. So also popped up, and she got an ad from Google for a 1925 Gates Tours to Europe informational brochure for sale on eBay. Google had already done the work and found it and sent it to her. It was 1 year off, she says, but close enough. I bought it and it's spectacular. I confirmed that the tour itinerary I had first reconstructed from passport stamps and her text was mostly correct. The Gates Tours brochure is full of quirky 1925 turns of phrase like comfort without extravagance that I plan to use here and there in the book. But what caught my eye the most was the description of why an American should visit Europe. The 1925 text is very Eurocentric, as it was at the time, but the sentiments could apply to Asia, Africa, Scandinavia, etc. I just thought it expressed really well why we have connections with our ancestral homelands, and by extension, why we seek the genealogy of our ancestors. Well, I could wholeheartedly agree, and I thought it would be kind of fun. I asked her to share some of the photos from her grandmother's album. I thought it'd be fun to pull together a video with a tour of the text from the brochure and the actual photos from Margaret's grandma's real life experience. So let's go on a grand tour with Margaret's grandma. The wonders of Europe. A trip to Europe is one of the most cherished dreams of every American who has not made it, and the favorite holiday of those who have. Whether 2 generations or 9 separate us from the lands over the water, they are still the old country. We are not merely heirs to the civilization that developed here centuries ago, and to the fruits of wars that made world history. They are the warp and weft of our lives. Our ancestors fought, on horse or foot, in famous and forgotten battles. They helped to build the cities and castles. They worshipped in the humble churches or the rich cathedrals. They lived in some dark street in a great city, or perhaps cultivated a tenant's farm in some remote countryside. Probably we do not know the city or even the county of their farm, or the cathedral or the battles, but the very uncertainty widens our interest. All Europe becomes ours. All the older European history is history of ourselves. Gates Tours are tried and approved guides to these foreign lands, which are peopled alike by the ghosts of kings and heroes, and by great living nations, and abound in historic memories, and in pieces of art and architecture. We've selected the choicest gems, so to speak, and have arranged Gates Tours in such fashion that the traveler can pass comfortably from one to another, and, wasting no time, can see them in 2 or 3 months. If in the following pages we seem always to speak in superlatives, it is because the places themselves are all superlative. Oh, Margaret, thank you for sharing your grandma with us. What a doll. She looks like she had a wonderful time, and I love the sentiments of the brochure. It does kind of express why we all do genealogy the way we do. And you guys look like you've been expressing yourself in the chat. Let's take a second. I want to see how you're doing. Okay, so Anne's asking me, what is that history and biography binder behind you? There, right? If you'll remember, I showed that in the Google Lens episode. This is a really big book. I won't even pick it up because it's so heavy. It's a big book, and it's a reprint of the county history from Randolph County, Indiana. And in fact, I used it as an example with Google Lens to show you how you can open the app on your phone, put it on the title page of that book, and you can find the book in Google Books instantaneously using Google Lens. So yeah, I love that book. I bought it years ago because it's where my great-grandfather comes from, Randolph County, Indiana. And Georgianne had a question, and this is a great question because I keep moving things around on the website. She's asking me, she used to be able to search by keyword search or categories on the homepage at genealogygems.com. So if you want to find a particular article or a particular episode, and we had to update a bunch of stuff, and all that website stuff is kind of hard. What ended up happening was we had to move it. So you will find it if you click articles in the menu, click any article, choose, it doesn't matter which one you do. You can go to an Elevenses episode, you can go to one of our other articles, click an article, and you will find in the right-hand column, the search box is still there, the category selection. So if you want to read or watch videos on a particular topic, as Georgianne mentioned, that's a great way to do it, is pick a category, and then they all pop up for you on one page, which is kind of nice. I wish I could figure out how to get it back on the home page, but, I can't. I wish I'm techie, but not techie in all ways. You know what I mean? I know. You guys like the tour. I know. Oh, Margaret, I'm so glad you liked it. It was so fun to put that together. I've got to tell you, I love putting the videos together. You guys have to send me more stuff because it's just so much fun. And I do think it inspires everybody. Yeah. Oh, gosh. In fact, I'll tell Margaret. Margaret mentioned that she has a photograph from her grandmother's album. And her grandma said, George Bernard Shaw. She thinks it's George Bernard. And you look at the man in the picture and it's him walking by. It's really interesting to live at that time. My goodness. All right. Let me see here. Let's see. I have a photo of my husband's grandmother in her native ethnic dress from Czechoslovakia. Do you think it would help me find the village she is from? Yes, Mary. And that is a little nugget of information in my brain that probably shouldn't even be there, but it is because I keynoted at the Czechoslovakian genealogy conference it's probably been 2 years. It might have been last year, but it seems like forever ago, doesn't it? And one of the things they did was this huge fashion show of Czechoslovakian native dress, and that each one tells you about where they're from. So, yeah. I'll have to see if I can find an expert on that. But do some research just do a Google search for that Czechoslovakian national conference that they have. I think they do it every other year. And there are some wonderful experts there who could help you. Question. Oh, remind us where we can find archive episode 1 through 10. Hi, Mark. I think you're from Texas. Hey. 1 through 10 are now archived and available exclusively to premium members. So premium membership is a 1-year subscription to the website. And I do tons of stuff that's free, but we do lots of exclusive things just for members and kind of helps keep the lights on around me. And you get lots of good stuff. So 1 through 10, if you are a member, you can log into the website and then go to premium videos in the menu. And you'll find Elevenses is now one of the categories, and that's where episodes 1 through 10 are, and all the downloadable handouts and such. All right, let me see. Okay, so my next thing. So Adobe Spark. Remember back in episode 16, we did an episode all about creating videos with Adobe Spark. Now, the one that I just showed you for Margaret's mother, I actually use a pretty sophisticated video program. It's called Camtasia. I will have a link for that in the video description here and also on the show notes page. If you ever think about getting Camtasia, use our link. I'd love it because it does help support the free show. So I use Camtasia to do kind of more of the specialty things. But Adobe Spark does an awesome job, and it's easy to use. It's a free app, and it's on your phone. And it's also on a website. So in episode 16, How to Make a Video with Adobe Spark, after watching the episode, Karen Harrison got to work. I think I saw you in chat, Karen. I hope you're here today. And she created, and she sent this to me a while back when I did the episode. She got to work creating a very short video paying tribute to her family's visit back in 1989. So she went through, did exactly what we talked about on that show. She collected some of her photos together. She got some of her old home movies together. And back in 1989, her family visited the old country of Norway. And I think this is going to inspire all of us to keep on reaching out, making connections with people, and maybe preparing for our next trip. So here's Karen's video.
Is the mother of my great-great-grandmother.
Well done. Oh, does that not want to make you just start making your plans? One of these days, this whole COVID thing's lifting. We're going to be traveling again, and you've got lots to look forward to. Thank you so much for inspiring us. Oh, my goodness. Now, I was looking through chat really quickly when the video was playing, and I love Kathy says, Google Lens is better than Antique Roadshow. I think you're right. I love that. And if you have a question as we kind of move through our episode here, put in big capital letters question. Makes it a little easier for me to run through the chat and try to find them. I love that. So she used Adobe Spark to make that, and you just drag and drop your stuff into it. Okay, our next item is kind of fun. So this is a little story I have to tell you. This is a follow-up to our episode on the Family Bible. I forgot to look what episode that was. That was pretty recently. It was in the 30s. So after it was episode 29. I made notes. Good job, Lisa. After watching Elevenses with Lisa, episode 29, on finding and using family Bibles for genealogy, Sue Gregg wrote in to share her family Bible story. So this is what she writes. Many years ago, I was postmaster in a small town where I knew pretty much everyone and everyone knew me, and that I was into family history and some of the families that had lived in the area. There was a public sale held one day at a very old farm just up the road from my post office, and the next day a neighbor came into my office and showed me a very old Bible that she got at the sale. She said it had family info in it and thought maybe I could recognize some of the names in the Bible. There were 6 pages of information, 2 births, 2 marriages, and 2 deaths. Nothing looked familiar until I saw on the death page a name and a date that I knew from other research. My main research was for the Gregg family, and it's Gregg. And this was a James Gregg who died in 1864 from Civil War injuries, and here it was recorded in the Bible. I looked a little harder at names and dates and discovered that the Bible had belonged to Susan Gregg Bryson, born 1824, and this date matched what I had been told by my family connections, except that I was told that her married name was Murray, not Bryson. Turns out she married the Murray after her Bryson husband died in Andersonville prison. It was a notorious prison in 1864, and that was also recorded in the Bible. So in the Bible was all this information about the very family that I had been searching for 30 years. I was able to add 400 plus people to my records, which I had suspected were connected, but I had no proof, and here it is. I was able to copy the pages of the Bible, but the woman would not sell it to me. She wanted it because she was moving to a log cabin that was located across the street from my post office, because the date of the log cabin was about the same as the Bible, 1860s, and she planned to place the Bible in the log cabin after its move to a new town as a decoration. Clearly, she doesn't understand the value to the family. That's so cool. Now, see, that's a perfect example of why you have to tell everybody that you're into family history. It's amazing how many times that's paid off in my own family, and they roll their eyes at you sometimes. And they're like, oh, she's talking about genealogy again. But when people find things, they come to you, right? That is so amazing that find came to Sue the way it did. Thank you for sharing, Sue. Thank you to all of you for, I know that it takes the time to share. Sometimes Bill will go through the emails and stuff, and he answers the service email, and he'll say, you don't know how many shows I've watched, how many podcasts I've listened to. I never think of emailing somebody, and your people do all the time. And I just said, well, they're special. I mean, you are special. Okay, so I have another story for you. I love your stories. I call this one When Family History Opportunity Knocks. That's kind of what came to mind. So, longtime friend of the show and family member here at Elevenses, Dana Van Wormer Schroeder. I hope I'm saying that right. It's kind of pronounced, it looks Schroeder. It could be Schrader. It's probably Schrader. You might know her as Jean Buds in the chat. So she watches the show wherever she is. In fact, she sent me a photo. Let me put this up here. So she watches when she's camping. I think that's cool. What a gorgeous place to be watching Elevenses with Lisa from. And so she says, I love, she loves her road trips. She goes out, they do their camping, and I love road trips too. I particularly love genealogical ones. And recently, Dana she wrote me the email, and I said, would you call the voicemail line? I'd love to hear this in your voice. And she did. What a trooper. Okay, the number 925-272-4021. And she shared a very special road trip on the voicemail. She learned a very valuable lesson from her very supportive husband, and in the process, she found some genealogy gems.
I've had 3 opportunities to visit different homes of my ancestors, and all of them are memorable. In 2008, my husband and I were on a research trip to New York. One of my goals was to locate the Lanehart family cemetery that I'd read about when I was researching in Salt Lake City. As we were driving up a hilly road, I spotted a roadside, Lanehart. When we came down the other side of the hill, there was Lanehart again, so we turned onto it. Soon we saw a mailbox with Lanehart on the side. Could it be? My husband said I should knock on the door. I got a shy attack and shrank from the idea. He retorted, "What did we come here for?" With that, I gathered up my papers and trudged up to the door. When the door opened, I blurted out my mission as succinctly as possible before it was slammed in my face. I've had 3 opportunities to visit.
I totally screwed up. You guys, I don't know how you put up with me. All right, we're going to do this again because this is so cool. I can't believe I did that. Hang on. Here we go.
I've had 3 opportunities to visit different homes of my ancestors, and all of them memorable. In 2008, my husband and I were on a research trip to New York. One of my goals was to locate the Lanehart family cemetery that I'd read about when I was researching in Salt Lake City. As we were driving up a hilly road, I spotted a roadside, Lanehart. When we came down the other side of the hill, there was Lanehart again, so we turned onto it. Soon we saw a mailbox with Lanehart on the side. Could it be? My husband said I should knock on the door. I got a shy attack and shrank from the idea. He retorted, "What did we come here for?" With that, I gathered up my papers and trudged up to the door. When the door opened, I blurted out my mission as succinctly as possible before it was slammed in my face. "I'm the descendant of Katrina Lanehart and Abraham Van Wormer." She smiled and said, "Honey, you've hit the mother lode." She invited us in. This was the house where Katrina was born and raised. She showed us the original 1768 land indenture, an unpublished book her cousin had written on the family, and told us how to find the extremely overgrown family cemetery. She called her cousin while we were there, and from listening to our end of the conversation, we could tell that she was being chastised for letting strangers in her house, because she said, "Oh, they seem like nice people." I visited her again when I returned in 2010, but she has since died. I am so grateful that my husband pushed me to knock on that door.
It's so cute. Kristen says, "Tech happens. Lisa happens." I should not be clicking when I'm watching and doing other things. The thing around our house that we call this, it's a picnic. So when I do stuff like that, it's a picnic, and it happens a lot. And picnic is the first letter, P, picnic. Problem, in chair, not in computer. It's a picnic. This is the problem. But we got it. And thank you so much to Dana for sharing her photos. I loved her story and how simple to, even with a voicemail, I was able to download it as an MP3, pop it into a video program. Now, again, I use Camtasia, but you could do even Adobe Spark and drop in the pictures. And I love her story. What a wonderful, and gotta love husbands who encourage us to knock. It's like you make your own luck, right? I know. All right. I love hunting for cemeteries. And we talked about that, I think, in the Google Earth episode. We were talking about how to find cemeteries in the free Google Earth software program. You can do that. You can look it up in the layers panel. And in fact, I did a quick search to see if I could find that Lanehart cemetery, and Google Earth found it. It was interesting. It didn't pop up as one of the markers in the layers panel. But when I did the search on the name Lanehart Cemetery, boop, went right there. Of course, it's covered in trees, just like she said. It's very, very overgrown. And Margaret was saying that when she was watching the Family Bible episode that we talked a little bit about how my cousin Carolyn had found a wonderful book restore, and Margaret passed that information on to a friend of hers who was really, really pleased. It was helpful. So, hey, Genealogy and Elevenses, just reach out there. Share with your friends. I encourage people sometimes, tell people who aren't even into family history about the show. One, they might get interested in family history, but a lot of the stuff we do, of course, you can use for lots of different things, not just genealogy. Where are we at? Oh my gosh, it's already... Oh, here's a question from Anne. Do you have, or would you be interested in creating a Facebook group for all of us to get together and share? Oh, I don't have a Facebook group, but I guess that would make sense, huh? YouTube doesn't really have like a sharing place in that way. Maybe I'll do that. That's a great idea. Then we can kind of stay in touch all week long. Bingo. Thank you, Anne. I will be in touch with that. And I hope that if you are not already, all of you, getting the Genealogy Gems weekly newsletter, get signed up for it, because that's absolutely where I make announcements about things. And if we put a Facebook group together, that would be a perfect place. So you can go to genealogygems.com, and right at the top, there's a red button for subscribing to the free newsletter. And that's how you know what the new episodes are for this show, if you're new to the show. If you're a premium member, or if you'd like to learn about being a premium member, under subscribe in the menu, it'll explain all the videos and all the stuff that you get. And we got lots of other stuff for you there as well. So the weekly newsletter is really the way to stay in touch. And I have one final thing here. Let's see here. So many times over the last 35 episodes, I've shared not only my own family history wall displays, but I've showed a lot of yours as well. I think it's so inspiring, and it keeps us motivated to get those pictures out and get them up on the wall, and maybe documents and other things that we have. So I thought we'd kind of wrap up this episode with another wonderful display. And this one came from a Canadian, Pamela Fain from Canada. Let me look here. You know what's interesting? I'm looking and I don't see the picture, but I'm going to transition and see what happened. Well, hang on, because maybe I can find it. Her picture was really neat, and I loved what she said about it. Now, I'm going to still read it to you, even if I can't find it, but I think I can do it here. Okay. Ah, look what I did. There you go. Okay. So she says, on our office wall, I have displayed photos from my father's English and Welsh roots, my mother's Scottish and Irish roots, and my husband's Russian and Prussian roots. To earn a place on the wall, the photo must be antique, and I must know the names of the people in the photos. And as you can see, I have room for more applicants. I love that. I love how this display, it not only celebrates her family, but her own accomplishments as well. I like that idea that it's kind of motivation, that if there's a spot on the wall, it gives her something to look for and keep moving on, keep investigating the family. She also had a really nifty idea that I thought was worth sharing. And it really ensures that for future generations, people are going to know who these people are, because don't want to write stuff on the front of a photograph. So she says, I've labeled every photo on the back and included what I know about each person and family in an envelope attached to the back of each photo frame. Great idea. Mr. Cooke, I saw you poke your head in. Where are you? I told Bill that I wanted him to pop in and say hi to everybody, because he's a birthday boy. So normally, oftentimes Thanksgiving is also his birthday as well, but his birthday is this Saturday. So he disappeared. But everybody go and chat and wish Mr. Cooke a happy birthday. There's a delay, he says. Come in here and say hi. Everybody wants to see you and say hi. He's always in the other room. He's always checking chat. There's the guy.
I'm watching I'm watching the activities, making sure there's no bad guys out there.
Well, there never are, hardly.
No,
Not too often.
Not too many.
And he alerts me when I do things like, my screen went blank and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So
Yep.
couldn't do it without you, darling.
Yep. Or the feed dropped or something. Yeah.
So anyway, happy birthday
Thank
to
you,
Mr.
dear.
Cooke. We couldn't do it without you. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. Have a wonderful rest of the Thanksgiving. We have a Thanksgiving to look forward to, too. Our wonderful friends next door
Our neighbors.
invited. Our neighbors are going to be our family today. We're heading over to have Thanksgiving with them. And I really am so honored that you spent part of your Thanksgiving with us. So until next time, talk to you soon.
See you. Bye.